All right, good morning. Exciting week. I get back coming off a bye week. Felt like had an opportunity to improve with fundamentals and schemes and take a good look at ourselves from a self-scout standpoint. Got a lot of work done, much needed time off for players. We got after it really one day where we full padded, but we got good on good work every day. And really like where we're coming off of the bye week. And again, how could you not get excited for this game? This is everything that you want to coach and play for at this level. And the pageantry, the emotion, the intensity, the opportunity, all of it. You know, you're going to have a center stage in college football this Saturday. You're going to play a great Texas team that's playing incredibly well. I think they've won 19 of their last 22 games. Coach Sarkisian and their staff have done a really nice job, with a really good team. It's a veteran team. I think 21 of their top 22 guys on offense and defense are juniors and seniors. So a veteran team, 134 or so starts with their offensive line. And I think from an offensive standpoint, it's kind of all starts there. They've got really good players at every position, but the way they're playing up front, the cohesion, the chemistry, the physicality that they're playing, they kind of lead the way from an offensive standpoint, playing really well again on both sides, top 5 in the country, virtually in about every defensive and offensive category. They've just playing really well. They're other than running backs that they had lost, maybe, and thinking that maybe it was fall camp, they've remained relatively healthy. But the backs that they have, they've had 3 of them. Wisner was in the last game. I think he had 18 carries against Mississippi State. Played really, really well for them. And but they're all blue. Gibson, they're all playing really well as well. So I think their youngest player they have that plays significant stamps is Anthony Hill, and he's one of the best linebackers in all of college football. Great player. And then Colin Simmons is a freshman that I think he's been mentioned as a potential freshman All-American, playing really, really well for them as well. But no weaknesses on paper. Or on tape, what you've seen. They're playing really, really well. So our guys are excited about the challenge. That being said, and we're gonna need to play really well to have an opportunity to win this game. That goes without saying. You're not gonna luck up and win this game. You're gonna have to go earn it. And a great opportunity for our players. Got back on track with our win against Auburn 2 weeks ago, and we got this next stretch run where we can really make a statement. And but. This is what you coach for. You want challenge? Well, you got it. That's what we're gonna be presented with that this weekend. So, open it up for questions.
Okay, we'll start with Eric Bailey.
Brent, when you coach against Steve Sarkisian, can you talk a little bit about the chess match? How much of a thrill and how much of a challenge is it as a coach when a defensive-minded coach like yourself goes against an offensive-minded coach like Steve Sarkisian?
Yeah, I don't know about chess match. It's a player's game, and they're not really concerned about what you're doing. They're going to do what they do, and they do it well. They're going to run the football. They're going to set it up, play actions. They're going to take a lot of shots and create explosives, very vertically challenging offense. And, the quarterbacks, it's driven by those quarterbacks. They play incredibly accurately. They're veteran within the system in Quinn Ewers. I don't really look at it. I think Steve's an excellent offensive-minded coach. Knows what he's doing. His presentations are fantastic. Puts his players in position to be successful. He knows how to create leverage, and he knows how to attack a defensive structure. So when you have that, along with really good, experienced, explosive, talented players, it's a recipe for success. And he's had it at the highest level, and they're playing that way right now. But you like challenge. Our players watch the tape. It doesn't take much to get these guys bought into, again, what's in front of them. And our guys are really excited about that challenge. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, Brent, you talk about
the emotion that comes along with this game. Obviously, last year, Danny giving that speech before the game. What was your reaction to that in that moment? What does something like that do for a team, and what does it say about Danny's leadership to do something like that?
Yeah, he's again incredibly invested player, a player that everyone respects by how he works, how he shows up consistently. He's very passionate. That's a natural thing for him, from a expressive standpoint or communication standpoint. He's what you would want in an alpha. I mean, he backs it up with how he plays. I mean, he plays with incredible effort and great toughness. So the players follow him, but he's that every single week. We circle that speech, but if you had a mic everywhere, you're paying attention. That's who Danny always is. But this is a game that brings out all the emotions. But again, you only get 12 a year. So, how you couldn't have that emotion 12 times in the regular season is beyond me. And our guys they've been great that way. Don't have to quote unquote get them up. To be ready to play. They're emotionally charged up each and every week. But this always brings out the best in guys.
Mm-hmm. Robert Spears-Jennings, been a guy that we've seen play a lot in his first couple of years here, but this year his performance is really elevated on a defense that has a lot of really talented individual players. What's been your sense of why he's sort of seen the uptick in the stats, and what's been your impressions of his play to this point?
He's worked really hard. Football's a developmental game, and this is his third year in the same system, with the same coach, with the same verbiage, with the group of guys around him. There's just a comfort level for Robert. Understands more, has progressively played more, which is, lended into his confidence that he's gotten through the work and through the success and through the failure, for that matter. But how he's leading, his toughness, how he handles adversity is different this year than in the past, and that just comes from a maturation, natural part of the process that he's had some real stick-to-itness to him. Comes from, I think, his mom having a military background. I really believe that. He's a real level-headed guy. He's got great self-awareness. And like I said, he shows up with a consistent mindset, more so now than ever. And so now he's got a consistent level of play to show for it.
Larry.
Yeah, Brent, Texas, like most people, have had its ups and downs over the years. How much more difficult is your job when they're riding high, like they have the last couple of years?
I don't. That's not a measuring stick for myself or for this program. Their success doesn't have anything to do with ours, and their lack of success doesn't have anything to do with ours. So we focus on us, the things that we can control. We compete on the field, once a season, and it's a big game, always is. But they're all big. Lose one of those other ones, and they all big, and but we don't measure our program to their program in any way, shape, or form.
George.
Yeah, Brent, you guys have talked a lot about self-scouting this last week or so. What did you in the offense maybe find during that process? And secondly, how do you balance maybe wanting to add some wrinkles or packages that tailor to Mike's skill set versus maybe you don't want to put too much on a young quarterback's play?
I mean, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, here's the things that we were able to find out about ourselves, other than, some of it was affirmation for what you've seen. And then other places where you immediately look at, where have you fallen short? That's where you put your immediate focus, and you look for all the reasons why. Have we made it too easy? Have we had too many predictables? This is the time of the season. You always want to keep track of that. You always want to have a good sense for that, yourself. And I think the more successful you are, I think the easier sometimes it is to see. And when you're not, it seems like you got issues everywhere, and sometimes that's that's the truth. But so you're always looking at things that, what is the 1,000, 10,000 foot lens from the opponent? What are they seeing? What are we showing them? And so you want to start with the basics, and I always, take the defense and look at the offense, and take the offense and look at the defense. From those views, how's an offense going to look at us? How's the defense going to look at us? And some of it's easy. If maybe, or what are some things that maybe Auburn had success with? Well, professional courtesy is going to show up again, so you better address that. And that's every week. When you have some failure, you're always looking at that. But maybe it's formationally, you have some tendencies. Maybe it's emotion that you have tendencies with. Maybe it's down and distance that you have some tendencies with. Hey, and sometimes maybe it's red zone, and you had incredible success, and do you want to change it? And sometimes you're like, well, you can't just live in that. Somebody's going to, what is the scheme? I think your knowledge within the scheme, you say, this is where we're a little bit weak. We better make sure, even though nobody's been able to expose us, you better make sure that you show that to your players, even though nobody's been able to execute it. And then again, you're always looking, this is a season that you're, every week you're looking at ways to improve and evolve and make this year's version of the Oklahoma defense, the special teams, or the offense. You want to make it, you want to look for ways that you can make it better, and things that maybe that fit your scheme that can make you better. The wrinkles that you alluded to. Sometimes it's subtle and not apparent to the naked eye necessarily. Maybe it's how you're blocking a stretch scheme, or maybe it's you get into the minutia of certain play designs. Structures on defense, things of that nature that are apparent or are a part of the process every week to some degree, more or less. And you get a bye week, maybe you have a little bit more time, but more doesn't mean better.
Thanks, Brent. Ryan Chapman.
Brent, Tennessee and Auburn were able to hit just a handful of some of the deep passing plays. What kind of similar to Texas receiving core different as far as the threat that they can post downfield?
Yeah, they got quarterbacks that can push the ball down the field. They have aggressive play design. There always have been an explosive offense under wherever Sarkisian's been. He's trying to take the top off the defense from the jump and put a lot of stress on people. And it's not just taking chunk shots. He's got good play designs. He's got other outlets within those schemes. It's not an all or none approach. And they do a nice job, how they're protecting and things of that nature to buy them time to do that too. But, they got really good players and accuracy at the quarterback position, players at wideout that can get behind you. They're going to, not only they're really explosive players, they play with good technique. They know how to play the position. So those are things that have allowed them. And then, we've played against good players, whether it's at Tennessee or it's at Auburn. And, we've been a much more disciplined team on defense through the first half of the season in regards to giving up explosive plays. But we don't want to give up any. And we've got to do a better job. We're going to only, again, continue to get challenged starting, with this week as we move forward.
Come over to the left side, James.
Brent, you have a young quarterback. You have 2 weeks, though, so some things happen in the offensive line, get them back, and wide receiving players coming back. How much did the 2 weeks you hope really helps what's going on your offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. It can only help. And I say that because there's a compound interest on the additional repetitions mentally, physically, walkthroughs, team separate, scout work, the meeting rooms. Being able to kind of take, without as much urgency in regards to something that, in game week, those 20 hours go by fast. And so an off week gives you a little bit more time, and maybe even for the coaches to do a good job of, some presentations that can make things easy, for the players to digest on areas that we got to improve and get better at. But yeah, we'll be, your expectation is you're going to be a better version. The other side of it is you're playing the most complete team that you've played to challenge you as well. So, but I'm excited about that. Again, we had a great week last week and a good start to our week yesterday, and I think that we'll have an opportunity to bring out the best in our guys.
Yeah, Brent, one of the stars of this game last year was Deshaun Nicola. I know you would have loved to not have his first game for the season be this Saturday, but how big of a role can he play despite the fact he hasn't played this season?
Well, he's going to have to play a role. He's practiced for a few weeks now and been progressively getting back into it. So, excited about where, he is right now and what the additional playmaking that he can bring to the table. Again, he's long, he's athletic, he loves to compete, he's got natural instincts, toughness. He did some things well in this game a year ago. He did some things that he got to be better this year. But he gives us another, active playmaker at a position. We lost one of our best players in Kendall Dolby a few weeks ago to a broken leg. And so this is a great opportunity for him, in a role. And so how big of a role, that remains to be seen. But it's good to have him back.
Brent, you talk about Deshaun coming back, but obviously as he's been out, Kobe and Kip have stepped up and made some plays. Just from year one, from where they were to year three, where have you seen the biggest strides for them, and just how big have they been for this defense?
Yeah, a lot what you said with Robert Spears Jr. They're both much more consistent, much more confident, more physical. They play faster. They grade at a higher, at a winning percentage more often. Now they're better in coverage. They're better in their run fits. They're better in their blitz angles. They take adversity better and handle it better. They take tough coaching better. So there's not an area that they're not better in from where they were 2 years ago. And they got baptized. I remember they got in the game. We didn't coach well or play well at all in that game, but they both got in there and did some good things. And they were just running it, running his own play every play. But if you remember there in the last couple of series, I know we try to have amnesia about what took place that day, but they actually got in there, both of them, and they made a few tackles in that game. But much different players now. Again, what you would expect, just maturing, developing. This is, again, the foundation of our team. And again, I think we at Auburn, we played 28 freshmen and sophomores in that game. Only traveled 74 guys, and in some really significant roles. And those are a couple of guys that certainly have. But the portal has hurt in regards to stability and continuity and consistency. And for us, we've had a really good foundation of guys that are about being connected to a program. That they love where they're at. They love the locker room. They value being in a good system. They value the development piece. They value being attached to something, for the rest of their lives. And those three guys in particular, all on defense, were guys that came in here as freshmen with us, and have, to a certain degree, have started to reap the benefits and the fruit of their labor, if you will. Mm-hmm.
Brent, last week you mentioned wanting to tighten things up in the secondary, not give up so many of those big pass plays that Auburn got a handful of last week. Is there anything specific from a technique standpoint that the players need to do better, or just like what's the diagnosis there?
There's it usually starts with fundamentals, and we got to make a play on the ball. We were in phase, just go play the ball. I think one time we speed turn and we squatted instead of speed turning, keeping our depth. They ran by us. You got to take the guessing out of it. And then another time, you got help underneath, inside, and deep in the post. And we lost leverage to the outside, the only place that you can't lose leverage. And again, good players. Again, a veteran quarterback will find you. So learning opportunity. I think we maybe missed a tackle or two on some underneath stuff. Got to be better. We had another adjustment early on a drive. They scored a touchdown. Did a little simple motion, and we didn't handle the motion the right way. Veteran player, and they ran away from us on a crossing route, climb route. And so again, our pre-snap process and, recognizing the motion and how we're going to adjust it. We can't bust there. So, we got to do a better job coaching them, getting them to understand it better. Nothing tricky or fluky, but simple stuff, basic stuff, nothing where, oh man, they just made an amazing play. And again, I take nothing away. It takes execution, the guy throwing it, guy catching it, guy protecting it, things of that nature. But just got to do better. And I addressed the things after both games, but nothing changed after you have an opportunity to go back and watch it again.
Brent, you guys have kind of moved Trace forward to a bit of a new position and asked him to do some new things. What do you think of how he's acclimated to that so far and the impact that's had?
Yeah, he's done a nice job. You know, Trace is a guy that's played a lot of college football. He's explosive. He's really fast. He's got good instincts. You know, can play the run, can play the pass. Shows that he has some good ability and space. That'll serve him well. You know, in the future. To have that on tape, you know, to be a hybrid kind of guy. But at the end of the day, he's a defensive end. You know, he's got to be able to put his hand in the dirt. We're a four-man front team, and he's got to be able to do the things that we need him to do there, and has done those things well. He's got to have his hand in the dirt. Sometimes 3-point, sometimes a 2-point, sometimes a 4-point, every once in a while a 6-point. And he's got to be able to get dirty and see gap and you know, take on blockers at the first level of the defense and set an edge, things like that. And he's shown that he can do that. So great versatility is what you've seen from him. Real proud of Trace.
Okay, let's go back to the right side, third row, Cliff, Brun.
Yeah, so you mentioned early on how important this game, how big this is. You've got a true freshman quarterback going into this. What do you do? How do you prepare him and make this so it's not overwhelming for him?
Yeah, I thought maybe the first game, you know, first opportunity to get in is the one you calm down. You saw him when he got in the Tennessee game. And like I said, he was in fast forward on everything. And that's very normal. You know, they get young guys get in a hurry sometimes and don't have the patience that a veteran necessarily would. But again, you know, I'm glad we got 2 weeks just to, again, paint the picture. Mike's a very process-driven guy. He's always been mature beyond his years. You know, I think he'll do a good job. I trust and have faith and belief in what I've seen, and he'll have trust and belief in the guys around him and the calls, and play the calls. Don't overcomplicate things, and again, don't try to win the game in the first quarter. And but he's a playmaker, and so you don't want to handcuff him either. And but you know, again, don't let the emotions hijack, you know, what it takes to execute. And the precision, the timing, the patience, the progression, all of those things that a quarterback has to have. And but I got faith. Again, he's, you know, he's a guy that easy guy to bet on, just from a maturity, process-driven, consistency, who he is, how he handles tough moments. He's got a lot of really good qualities that maybe sometimes a younger player doesn't have, but hadn't been there, done that. And so I'm not discounting that. And, you know, at some point, you know, you can only do so much as a coach, and he's got to be willing to listen. But, you know, nothing that he's done up to this point would, you know, make me surprised that, you know, he wouldn't, again, follow the book, if you will.
Next to Cliff, we'll go to James.
Hey, Coach, you had the game last year against Texas, and both of you were coming off a bye week. How was that familiarity with each other and more time to prepare for each other? How could that affect this game on Saturday?
Well, I was hoping we were going to get all our receivers back and Dolby and Gentry, but I don't think that's going to happen. So other than that, I'm not sure how it can affect. I don't know. Both teams, you know, they're undefeated, and we got back on track with a good road win. And so you'd like to play again in some ways, stay into a good rhythm. There's a rhythm of the season. But I am glad both teams are coming off a bye too. And I wouldn't want it one way or the other. You know, us having an extra week and them not, they stay in rhythm. I don't know if that's an advantage or not. And you look at teams that played off of byes a week ago. It was mixed. It was a mixed bag. Sometimes it was good, and many times it wasn't good. So I don't know. Again, I really don't know what they did or didn't do, and it really has nothing to do with what, you know, our plan of attack was. And I think every year you look at it for what it is and what your team needs, and so we handled it accordingly, and feel like, again, we're in a great position, you know, coming into the week this week. for the next several weeks. Good time for us after 5 games.
Going to James, let's go to Joe Masato.
Yeah, Brent. Last weekend we saw all sorts of crazy upsets across college football, and some have, already theorizing maybe NIL, the portal has created more parity, maybe leading to some of these upsets. Probably too early to tell there, but just wanted to get your thoughts on that and if you kind of sense that being a theme moving forward.
Well, no doubt. I mean, I think you would be naive if you didn't believe that the portal hasn't had a dramatic effect in some of the parity that you're seeing. The margins are closer than they've ever been in the game of college football, and you're seeing that week in and week out. And so you got to always be prepared and ready to play. And I think there's always a human psyche that's a very undervalued piece of when you're dealing with 18 to 24, 25-year-old young guys. And I think the real challenge as a coach is week in and week out getting your players to buy into starting completely over and doing the things that are necessary in order to win this week, regardless of what happened last week. And, not to look ahead and put everything you got into this moment, and to be emotionally, physically, fundamentally invested in this moment, eyes forward, what's in front of you. I think it's easy when you're dealing with young people to have your eyes in the rearview mirror, or maybe looking ahead, if you will. That sometimes if you live in the outside world, outside the football complex, you can easily get ahead of yourself, or again get so messed up into what happened in the past that you lose your belief in yourself and your teammates and your coaches in the locker room, and you have no chance because you can't get out of your own way. And so getting your players to win the battle of the mind each and every week, and have respect for the process and what it takes to play at a winning level week in and week out through the course of the season, the challenges, the ups and the downs, and all the noise that's out there, that's always been a challenge. And having a body of work from the beginning of the year, being able to sustain and maintain, that's the challenge for the individual player. And, success can be one of the worst things that happen, to you, and how you handle that. And, not losing sight of the little things that again, winning requires.
We still have the haves and have-nots, though, in college football as far as, like, resources and such. Like, why do you think the portal has created more parity?
Because there's, better players, I think you're seeing probably the good programs are the second team guys that maybe you've been developing for a couple of years. You're losing that. And so your next guys are new guys, whether they're freshmen or they're brand new players that haven't been a byproduct of the system for 2 or 3 years. And so what happens with that, usually the level of play in that next level guy isn't there. Not yet, anyway. And it hasn't had time to mature, hasn't had time to develop. And so those backups have maybe bridged a gap for some programs, and maybe it's a backup at a place like Oklahoma that went to what wasn't a Power 4 school at one point, but now they are, and now they become an instant starter and a veteran player that maybe hadn't had a lot of experience, but man, he's been in a fire as a number 2 somewhere, and so it's helped those people, those programs maybe catch up a little faster, if you will, and so I think, and then programs that have developed at the positions where you got to lines of scrimmage, maybe a quarterback position, and then you've also benefited from good portal additions. Look at a team like Texas. They've done a nice job that way, and I think that they've in their games they've in all 5 of their games they've played at a really high level, have dominated. I think they're the only Power 4 school through the first 5 games, 6 games of the season that they haven't trailed at any point in time. So they've really dominated. I think that they've done a nice job maintaining, their roster And they've had lost some guys too. Don't get me wrong, but they've had a veteran presence at the offensive line and at the quarterback position, and then and several players on defense, and then brought in some really good players in the portal that they've plugged some holes. Mm-hmm.
We'll go to the aisle. John Hoover.
Yeah, Brent, you talked a lot last year about that goal line stand and how you can kind of hang your hat on it as a program. I know you lost Danny Stutzman for those two losses, but have you been able to kind of maintain that momentum that you started with that goal line stand? For instance, have you shown it to the team this week and talked about it this week specific to Texas, and how it kind of ignited your defense from that point on?
We've looked at that, and we the very next week, coming off a bye, we play UCF right out here, and had another goal line stand. We had a goal line stand there. We had a goal line stand in the West Virginia game. We had the goal line stand in the 2-point stop against UCF in a 2-point game. That we won. The week after we played Texas. And so we've looked at all those, the critical moments. As you build your team throughout the year, you watch it in the out of season, different defining moments in developing an identity and always believing when your back's against the wall. It starts with belief. It starts with toughness. It starts with everybody doing your job. But this particular week, we haven't shown that. It might have shown up in some of the red zone stuff that we've looked at, but not as the team. But we have looked at some defining moments as a football team in the out of season and the things that win for you. And we've talked about playing great red zone offense and red zone defense. And last year we did that at a high level. This year we've been pretty good in that space. And so that's helped us, be successful this year. And that was a big part of last year. We played good red zone defense. I think they had to settle for another field goal another time early in the game, right before half. I think they maybe had 3rd and goal at the 8 or so, 3rd and 9 at the 9. And the quarterback had to scramble, and we tackled him, and then they had to settle for the field goal. Those are big plays. But they also benefited. I think we had a walk-in touchdown on a check down to the running back, and he gets a little ahead of himself and drops it, and we had to settle for a field goal right before half. And but those are always big plays, and you get a big stop on downs, or you force a turnover in the red zone, and we did that off of another. I think they converted a 4th down on maybe a wildcat play. They had a 4th and 2 or 3 that they converted, and they got down there, and then that was also maybe even off the fake punt, if I remember, that they ran 3rd series of the game. They had converted a fake punt, backed up on their own end of the field, and maybe they go down, and then we forced the turnover on the big hit as well. And so those are always big plays in any game. You're playing against anybody with a pulse. We had one last week against Auburn, in the second drive of the game after 12-play drive, so anytime you have some success doing that, you're always trying to say, aha, as a coach. I think you would, you're not doing, justice. You're coaching with a great opportunity to teach and learn. Look, man, it don't matter. Spot the ball, put the ball on one, and when you be successful on defense, man, that's always something that you can build from, I told the guys, you think they're going to have the same play call, same Rolodex, and come out, certainly they're going to try to, you always got to run the ball in that situation, develop an identity as a team, but you better be ready for them play actions, you have 10 toes in the ground and fall them forward, and how are you on the play action game? And, so there's teachable moments, but that particular play have not shown, the team, but we built on that as a defense. And let's face it, for a decade we were not very good on defense here, and flipping the script is showing them why you should believe, why you should buy in. What it takes to, if you're going to be about something as a competitor and as a defensive player, man, that is what it's about. And when your back's against the wall, and so we've had several of those the last couple of years, and you build off of all of it. Mm-hmm.
Brent, returning to Mike, you brought him in relief against Tennessee.
Say that again. I didn't hear what you said to start.
Returning to Mike Hawkins. Came in against Tennessee, won a road game at Auburn this week. In his words, he's playing on biggest stage. What of his poise has stood out to you in the several weeks that he's taken over?
What has stood out?
Of his poise, yes.
His poise is not taking care of the ball, playing aggressive still, though. Not playing on his heels, still playing aggressive, believing in himself, taking care of the ball, and then being coachable through all of it. And you'll be the first one to say, man, I missed that here and there and this game and this series, and should have made that play, should have made that decision. But those are the two of the biggest. I think they're really important. That's what you can win a lot of games, when you take care of the ball and you play within the system. You don't do something that's crazy. But we've done some things where, our first read is obvious, and we're not reading there either. But what I like about Mike is he owns it, first of all, no excuses, and then he corrects it.
On the end, Curtis?
Brent, you've had a different starting offensive line every game. It looks like maybe going forward, at least now, you have a little continuity. How big is that for your offense?
Yeah, it definitely helps, and we've got to be better there. Again, we targeted people for the most part pretty dang good a week ago. Protection was pretty good against an aggressive, diverse front in what we saw last week, and we did some good things. Not enough of them. It's not always on the offensive line. It's not just coaching speak. It's the truth, even against Tennessee at times. You're always looking for a bottom line result, and the bottom line result hadn't been good enough. But having another week where they're back together, really 2 weeks in preparing, helps when the communication, the confidence, all those things that that particular unit needs.